The biggest change that we've seen is I call it the old way versus the new way. And the old way was like, oh, you've got a webinar on Friday, run a bunch of Facebook ads. Who cares if the product's ready? You'll sell it and you build it and you kind of like figure it out on the way down. People are going to eventually pick up on the fact that this is just a sales pitch. Like there's no substance there. So I kind of call the old way like the quick cash, right? We grow our email list for 1 or 2 months. We nurture them with advertising, content, podcasts, social media, and then we do a launch. We promote our product, right? So we work in the cycle of like building community, nurture, connection, rather than quick conversions.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here today with Zach Spuckler from Heart, Soul, and Hustle, where he's helped a ton of course creators and coaches get their online courses live and scaling. It's an absolute master marketer, and we're going to go into a lot of deep stuff today, a lot of exciting topics. So Zach, welcome to the podcast, man. Really excited to have you on.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Cool, man. Cool. Excited for you to be here. So real quick, before we jump into the nitty gritty of all things marketing and in courses and funnels, let's take a step back. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the journey, the hero's journey, what you've been doing, what you're doing now, and kind of how, courses fits into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started back in 2015, give or take, in the online course space back when Periscope was a big thing. So if you ever heard of Periscope, it's like super old school these days, but it's
OG,
like,
man.
Yeah, it's OG. It's like before Facebook Live, before Instagram Live, there was Periscope, and I went live, and I actually had a previous small micro business that I was running around like vegan food blogging, and we were doing some really cool stuff with that, and we started running webinars and Facebook ads. And so for the vegan food blogs business, people were kind of asking like, oh, well, how are you running the Facebook ads? How are you doing that? So I started talking more about that on Periscope, and that quickly got us a handful of clients. So I started doing service-based stuff. And after about 30 days, I was like, man, like the service stuff is cool. It's great. I'm getting great checks. I'm still in college at this point. And I was like, I wonder if I could like productize this. So I started talking a little bit about how I was getting clients from Periscope. That snowballed into a course around Periscope. And then people were like, well, this is all good and well, but what are you doing with those clients? Which snowballed into a course around advertising. Both of those courses went to 100K plus. And then people started saying like, well, how are you launching these courses? And so we started teaching some stuff around that. And it really snowballed over time. After about 5 years, give or take, I was like, I'm done with this. I was really burnt out. I shut down all of my courses, switched exclusively to service-based for about a year and a half. And after a while, I was like, man, I do miss courses. Like, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the right way. Right.
Yeah.
And what I had done the first time that didn't work out so great was I had like, I wouldn't say like a million different products, but I was burnt out, right? Like I had 5 Facebook groups and a coaching program and like 3 courses. And I came back and I kind of started to like narrow down on what I was doing. And I really got clear on what like my values and my mission was. And I started saying like, what's most important to me is that, I'm creating content that people can get to, that I'm creating content that people can access. And so when I came back into the course space, I had a coaching program and we ended up launching a membership. And that is like our core product right now. So we have our membership, and that's where we serve about 350 to 400 people. We're looking to scale it up a little bit more. But we serve people who are like, I know I want to do this. I want to learn to run ads. I want to learn to set up my funnels. I want to learn the fundamentals of like selling my digital products consistently with advertising. We are firm believers that advertising is scalable, right? Organic is great. I'm not anti-organic. I personally don't love Facebook and Instagram very much because they take so much time and there's no guarantee return. Yes, there's no guaranteed return with advertising, but I'm always guaranteed that my content is going to deliver to somebody. I'm always guaranteed that it's at least going to get seen. So that's the game that we started playing. We now teach people inside of our membership. We keep it at a really accessible price point. Most of our products are under $100, and that's kind of where we're at today.
Love it. That was amazing, man. So you've kind of dialed back the courses now, and the membership is the core offer. internally, kind of what does that kind of product setup look like? Is it higher ticket, lower ticket? What are the different offers that you're selling right now?
Yeah, so we really only have two primary offers right now, and we're working on
Cool.
potentially adjusting that a little bit in the new year, which I can talk more about. But basically, we have a $25 Facebook ads bootcamp. We do it live 3 to 4 times a year, and that is a low ticket offer that moves into our $67 a month membership. And that's it.
Cool.
That's the whole business. Now,
Love
I
it.
will say we do have a service side of our business still, where we manage ads for people in an agency capacity. We only take on about 5 to 10 clients at a time. That's really intentional because one, it's just as easy to burn on services as it is online courses. And we don't have for me personally, I don't have a vision to like take it to like 100 clients and a team and ads managers and account man. Like that's just not my vision for that business. My vision for that is I want to always have my kind of hands in the pot and kind of playing around with things and seeing what's working and testing things and seeing the change in the ads manager and running them for clients and then being able to bring that information back to our membership. So those are our like, I guess I could say like our low ticket, our lowest ticket is the $25 bootcamp. Our high, quote unquote, high ticket is our $67 a month membership. People stick around. So average customer value is a little bit higher. And then the highest ticket is like working with us in a one-on-one consulting or agency capacity.
Yeah, love it. And you're saying about, having your hands in the pie. I think you said kind of having a pulse on what's going on across, the clients. Well, first of all, maybe describe, some of the clients, some of the info products that you're working on scaling through ads and kind of, the niches, the price points, kind of, any kind of like volume stats or anything like that.
Absolutely. It really varies depending on who we're working with, obviously. But we work with a variety of spaces. So one of my favorite things is that we work with people who are B2B all day long, not a big deal. But we have some really cool clients that we work with and who are like, we have one client who's a medium, which is really cool. It's like, it's just cool to like play in a completely different pond. And they're launching membership that's like $20-$30. I actually have two clients in that space, which is really cool. I have a client that teaches piano. I have a client that teaches hairstylist social media. I have a client that teaches hairstylist hard skills like cutting hair, So all of that to say, like we've worked the gambit. So we have people who are low ticket, high volume. We have people who are high volume, low ticket. Typically, B2B people tend to be a little higher ticket, and B2C people tend to be a little lower ticket, which makes sense when you think about it. Typically, businesses are willing to spend more money to solve their problems than a consumer. But yeah, I mean, we work with a variety of people in a variety of spaces. And that's one of the things that I love so much about not just the agency, but also what we get to bring into the membership is like, it comes through this lens of like, yeah, it's cool. But I think, tongue in cheek, like you can always, like, it's always easy to figure out what to say to sell a product that makes you more money, right? It's not always easy to be compliant. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's always easy to say like, this will grow your business, right? It gets a little more challenging when it's like, this will help you cut hair. This will help you play piano, right? It's just a different ballgame. And it's really fun to be able to play on both sides and bring that information back to our audience.
Totally. Yeah. I'm in a similar space where, these random niches that, you didn't even know existed and coming in with like a completely different mind frame, like a different avatar, different kind of topic messaging. So I totally feel that. So I guess from you as someone who's been in the game so long and you have, like you said, kind of hands across all these different products, all these different niches, what changes have happened in terms of like Facebook ads and just marketing in general, online courses, would you say, in the last kind of year or two that you've seen and kind of that you're working with?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The biggest change that we've seen is I call it the old way versus the new way. And the old way was like, oh, you've got a webinar on Friday, run a bunch of Facebook ads. Who cares if the product's ready? You'll sell it and you build it and you kind of like figure it out on the way down. And I think that consumers are getting more savvy to like a webinar is a sales pitch, a challenge is a sales pitch, a video series is a sales pitch. Like consumers are just getting smarter, right? And so if you don't take the time to like grow a list, nurture that list, provide them content, highlight your expertise, like people are going to eventually pick up on the fact that this is just a sales pitch. Like there's no substance there. So I kind of call the old way like the quick cash, right? Start ads on Monday, webinar on Friday, sales through the weekend, make your money and move on. That doesn't really work quite as well as it used to. It doesn't not work, but it's a lot harder than it used to be. It's saturated, right? The new way is like we work in 3 to 4 month cycles. We grow our email list for 1 or 2 months. We nurture them with advertising, content, podcasts, social media, and then we do a launch. We promote our product, right? So we work in the cycle of like building community, nurture, connection rather than quick conversions. And I think that that's the big change we've seen. The other big thing I've noticed is that people want to know that you can solve their problems before they pay you. And so you used to, and depending on your level of quote unquote celebrity in this space, like you can get away with a little bit less, but it's like people don't want to have to pay for the knowledge or the comfort that you can solve their problem. So you used to be able to like, really specific example is like, you could say, I'm going to sell this $1,000 course on how to launch your course. And people would be like, great, that's what I need. Right. But now what people are kind of saying is like, I don't know that you know your stuff until you show me you know your stuff. And so that used to be like, I can do that in an hour on a webinar, but now people want like a tangible, literal transformation before a transaction. So like for us, what we do is we have a PDF that walks them through like, here's how to run Facebook ads, right? And it's not wildly detailed, I'll be honest, but it conceptualizes our advertising, like I wouldn't even say methodology, but like our advertising philosophy, right? And it's like, that may not necessarily immediately translate to like leads or sales, but what it does do is it creates the transformation in the customer's mind of like, oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And then I give them the opportunity to work with me for $25, right? So all of that to say, it's like, you can't just like flip cash overnight the way you used to be able to. And you've got to build community connection and value with people, which has always been really, a good strategy to actually convert people into your products down the road.
Yeah, interesting. So that kind of the 3 or 4 month process that you go through with clients. Can we go a little bit more into the specifics? So kind of across these 3 phases, if you were coaching someone listening to launch an online course through these 3 phases, what are they actually doing? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and maybe even a specific example of like a product that is doing really well or did really well that followed this method.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a perfect example. So right now we're in November. So our first phase for our upcoming launch is we are running a 2024 planner for course creators. It's timely, it's relevant, it's simple, it's actionable. And if you use it, people feel like they have a clear plan for their year. It also comes with a small video training that walks them through kind of like how to use the planner. So in tandem, they kind of like create their plan for the new year. So we'll promote that in phase 1, we'll just throw money at it basically. So we are advertising it really aggressively. I think I want to say it's actually a little slow, but I would want to say like $60 to $80 a day is where we are right now. Okay. Not to say that's what you need to do. We've obviously been doing this for 8 years and we've built up to where we spend more money on promotions, but we're spending $60 to $80 a day, just growing the list consistently. Right. And we're doing that every single day, 24/7, just always growing the list. Second phase is as the list is growing, we put people through a simple sales sequence. It may promote the bootcamp. It may promote a wait list. In this case, it will promote our evergreen bootcamp. And when we do our live bootcamp, which I'll kind of explain a little more in the last part of the phase, we'll invite all the people who have been joining our list. So phase 1 is like start the ads, but they keep running through phase 2 where people go through a simple sequence, promotes a low ticket product or a wait list. And during that phase, we're also then sending a weekly email with a podcast. So our podcast is intentional, right? A lot of people blog or podcast like, what's on my mind this week? What can I talk about this week? And it's like, when we have a promotion coming up, we podcast intentionally around the topic of the promotion. So we will podcast about like running Facebook ads, growing your list, this system, right? Because when we get to the third phase of the system, which would be like January, we've been growing the list. The list building ads are still running November, December, now into January. But now we'll do a boot camp. And our boot camp is really just a fancy way of saying 5-day challenge. We do 5-day challenges, 3-day challenges. Doesn't really matter, but it's a challenge where we're going to teach them how to run Facebook ads to grow their list. So again, we have grown the list consistently. We've nurtured that list with content. And now we're making an invitation to come into a launch. And our launch is for our membership. We charge $25 for the bootcamp. And then you go into like, you do it live with us. We do prizes, giveaways, Facebook group, all that fun stuff. and then we launch our membership. And so we just recycle and repeat that timeline over and over and over again. So to really simplify it down, phase 1 is initiate your ads. Phase 2 is nurture your leads. And phase 3 is launch your product.
Love it. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So you're running ads right now. What, like, overall, kind of the whole campaign, what does maybe previous launches, what does a return kind of like end up being? So if you're spending, like, let's say $60 a day, 30 days, $1,800, kind of, after the warm up, after the emails and the kind of launch and the boot camp, is there like a positive ROAS there? How are you guys kind of, measuring that? And
yeah. We typically by the end of launch have gotten a 2 to 3x ROAS on our ad spend for all 3 phases. Typically, we're a little closer to 2. But remember, we also have a recurring revenue product. So our goal is like every 3 months, and this is not, this doesn't make sense for every business model, but at least on the membership side of things, our goal is to be like a 1 to 1.5 ROAS every 30 to 90 days. So we're not trying to like make a ton of money up front because it's a $67 product. We're going to have to really increase our customer acquisition to see a big like bang like you typically do with like a launch of a $500 product or $1,000 product. So we're shooting for a 1 to 1.5x ROAS, and then everything else is like, this is like marketer math. It's like free money, right? Because it continues to cycle through the business, but I'm not paying
because of the subscriptions, right?
Exactly. So they're paying $67 a month, and that's cycling through the business over time. So every 90 days, it increases our baseline recurring revenue.
Yeah. It is pretty crazy with, these subscriptions, especially once you work out like what the back end is. Because, we have some campaigns now, we're on cold, we're getting, kind of like a 1.3 ROAS for a subscription product, and we're trying to scale it. But it's like just knowing that like we can afford a 1 ROAS, or even, losing profitability because like month after month after month after month, the kind of LTV goes up. The ROAS just kind of 4, 5, 6x's, over time. So assuming you have a good product. So that's awesome. Now, when it comes to this cycle in phase 1, and maybe we can use, another course example. Let me step back. Are you using this model for like kind of most of your clients, how it's kind of, like cycles of launches?
Yeah. So for most of our clients, we're growing the list 24/7. They're marketing to the list 24/7, and then quarterly, some a little less frequently. It just depends on their business model, but then we're launching a product.
And on that front end, like opt-in offer to collect leads, what are you kind of offering to get the email at the moment? How do you think about these lead magnets? What's working?
So I want my lead magnets to always feed into what I'm promoting. So like typically my lead magnet is around creating a lead magnet, because you want to create a lead magnet, you probably eventually want to grow your list, which is like our core low ticket offer. Or right now we do a 2024 planner, but we write all over it in like the copy, the creative, the images, like for course creators, 2024 course creator planner. Create your planner for your course business in 2024. And so that one is a little broader. It casts a wider net, but we do it because number one, we get really good lead costs. But the other reason that we do it is it broadens our market to like, we know course creators want to sell more courses, right? And that is like foundationally what we're helping people do. So we want to just cast a really wide net, and then we can nurture those people over the course of, November, December into being interested in what we have for sale, right? So we'll nurture them through our podcast. But typically it's around Facebook ads or lead magnets. We may change it up a little bit, but it always should be like, if they finish this thing and get that quote unquote transformational value, what's the next thing that they say? And so for us, this next thing they say is like, great, I've got the plan. How do I execute it? Perfect. That's our membership. I know how to run Facebook ads. What buttons do I click? Perfect. That's the boot camp. So we're always thinking like, what's the next logical step that someone would want to take?
Yeah. Interesting. So maybe could you give like 2 other examples of niches, that are completely separate from course creation, and what the lead magnet looked like, and kind of how that tied into the next product in the funnel?
Sure. So way back in the day, I used to do a vegan food blog. So one thing that we would do was we would run an ad for a freebie that was specifically about how to create a simple meal plan. And then the offer that we made was a $67 like how to go plant-based for 3 weeks, right? So the meal plan was like, here's how to do like a week on your own, maybe even with like a recipe list and some things like that. Then it was like, if you wanted to just give you the whole shebang, it's 67. So basically the concept was like very similar in that people who want a meal plan are trying to typically this was, and again, this was like 7 years ago. So it's a slightly different market in the vegan food space right now. Don't try to steal this and do it exactly. I don't think it would work the same today. But the market back then was like, if you were looking for a vegan meal plan, you were probably looking to transition to going vegan. You weren't like already vegan. That's really not the case anymore. It's a lot more popularized. But that means that the freebie of like going vegan for 5 days, then the next step is like, cool, how do I keep this going? Enter a 3-week program with everything that you need, right? Another one that we did was we worked with a piano teacher. A piano teacher had a membership, and we would do a freebie that was like a 5-day. It was essentially a 5-day challenge, but it was like they called it a camp, like a summer camp. And so you could enroll your child into a 5-day summer camp, because if you can get your child to play piano for 5 days and enjoy it and like it, then the next step is like, well, how do I keep them playing piano, or how do I keep them busy this summer? And then enter her membership. So we call it the PSP model, the problem solution problem model. We didn't create that. I don't know who did, but I've read about it in several books. So I know it's not mine. But essentially, it's like when you solve someone's problem, hey, my kids are, all crazy this summer, with a solution, send them to this piano summer camp for 5 days. The new problem, there will always be a new problem that emerges. And in this case, the problem is like, well, how do I get my kids to stick with it? How do I keep my kids playing piano, right? So you're always, no matter what you do in business and what you sell as a course, you're always operating on the PSP model. There's a problem you solve and it uncovers a new problem, and that new problem should be solved by your offer. So you always want to be thinking like, we call it the PSP model, but it's really PSPSP. Like it just continues in perpetuity. And so every time you're entering an offer, you want to be asking, is this the solution to the latest problem that I've uncovered for this particular person in my market?
So the lead magnet that we're going with is kind of like trying to solve the problem that's happening right now, almost like, and then it's just like, okay, this PDF, this mini course solved that. Maybe, okay, now my ad account, or, my ads aren't getting this approved anymore. And then the next step is like, okay, here's a full Facebook course on how to scale it, as an example.
Yep, exactly. And sometimes it's conceptual, right? Like we have one of our freebies is how to spend $15 a day on Facebook ads, right? It's not, you're not going to go into the ads manager. You're not going to set up the ads. It's a 20-page guide, but it's like, you'll actually understand like, oh, this is how I spend money on ads. And for people who are very green to ads, they're like, well, what do I even like? I want to grow my business with ads, but what do I spend the money on? And so it doesn't always have to be this like massive transformational, like I had 0 sales, now I have 10 sales, now I want 100. It doesn't have to be that linear or that transactional, if that makes sense. It can more be like, oh, I didn't get it, but now I do. And now that I get it, I need help.
Cool. That makes sense. And when you're running these Facebook ads, these like kind of opt-in lead magnet offers, just, Facebook ad to landing page, name and email, thank you page, here it is.
Great question. No. So we use Facebook lead form ads. Those have been like our secret sauce. Those have been our secret sauce for a few years. We love them. They work incredibly well. And basically what it is rather than sending people to a landing page, they opt in on Facebook. They put their name and email into a form on Facebook. They never leave. Facebook loves it because you're keeping them on platform. They crush it. They crush it for us. Yeah, cheaper, faster. And I always tell people, we typically see a 30 to 50% reduction in cost driving people to a lead form. And so we're like, even if half the people who are opting in are like low quality, because that's always the big argument is like, these leads are lower quality. I say, even if 50% of them are lower quality, you paid essentially the same for the right people. So like, why not give it a shot that the other 50% actually aren't low quality? And it's been working for us for about 2.5, 3 years. So we love it.
Yeah, same. We, depending on the offer, we use them, but like we know for a fact, it's like, okay, getting leads on a website versus getting leads on Facebook, like Facebook has never not been cheaper every time we've run it. You know what I mean? And it's a no-brainer. So, okay. Now, number one, what questions are you asking on the lead form, and kind of, are you doing anything with that information? Because randomly, one of my clients actually who runs a tattoo shop, crazy story in a side tangent, but like it's a thick thing, you'll rate it. This guy set up a thing where he's running Facebook ads for his like tattoo shops, kind of, as a free tattoo giveaway. People answer the questions in the lead form. And then he built some like AI outbound call bot. He's like, oh, hey, James, I noticed that you applied and you're looking for, a tattoo of your mum on your shoulder. Could you tell us more about that? And the AI is doing this, and he's just kind of booking calls that way. So I thought that was, an absolute crazy use case, because you can connect obviously Facebook lead ads to all the platforms. So
we don't particularly do anything really thrilling with our lead ads, though. It's on our list to potentially play with a little bit more. I always jokingly tell people, like, I'll try new things, but like realistically, I've been doing this for about 10 years. I'm a dinosaur, so sometimes I do get a little set in my ways. So when it comes to my lead forms, I'm a bit of a purist where I'm like, name an email. I can always get the rest of the information later. The exception, which is what you're talking about, is typically local businesses can ask for more information because your targeting tends to be a little bit easier. Your conversion can be a little bit lower. You typically have a higher value for a customer. Like, for example, like the hardware store down the road isn't running an ad that's like, come buy a screw. It's usually somebody that's like a tattoo artist who can charge, $300 an hour, or they're going to make $2,000 on a customer, right? So you can pay a little more. For us, we have such low ticket products that it's like, if we ask for anything other than name and email, it drives up our cost. The more information you ask for on a form, the more you pay, which is not a bad thing. It's just for us, because all of our products are so cheap, the more information we ask for, the more it hinders our ability to recoup the ROAS. So we personally don't. However, like I said, number one, local businesses, we actually work with a local business who does do that and does really well. And then two is segmenting. So we do have clients that use lead forms for segmenting. Well, it's called a radio button. You've seen it before. It's like the little circle where you punch, but you can only select one versus a checklist. You can select many, and they'll let people segment. So like, tell me where you're at in business. I'm making X amount of dollars. Or what's your biggest struggle right now? I'm not converting. And then they will tailor the follow-up campaign based on the selection. And I have a friend that does that in the e-commerce space, and he does really, really well with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. It's just so crazy to me that your ads must be insane and the emails must be so good that, you end up getting profitable at such a low ticket product at the back end. Like, that's crazy. And, have a subscription on the back end. So man, you've mastered this. Quick question. So we have name and email on the lead. What kind of like ads are you running at the moment on your kind of like, biggest campaigns, most profitable? And what do your creatives look like? What is that?
Oh gosh, my creatives are so stupid simple. It's actually laughable how simple my creatives are. For freebies, I typically take a screenshot of the three most nuanced or like creatively stimulating pages, and I just plop them on a little thing that says like, plan your 2024. I think that's our top performer right now. There's 3 pages from the planner fanned out that says plan your 2024. For our $15 a day ad strategy, we tried all kinds of crazy stuff. The one that worked the best was an iPad mock-up with a chart that we have inside of it that was like, and literally the text said, $15 a day Facebook ad strategy for sales and growth. That one crushed it. It's like, we keep it stupid simple. It's partially because I always tell people, like, I'm a very simple-minded marketer. Like, you can make things complicated. You can add all the bells and whistles, and there's a time and a place, and they work great, and I love them. But if I can throw something together in 15 minutes, I'd rather do that at $1.80 per conversion than, hire the graphic designer, split test 30 creatives, do all of these things to try and get the cost down to $1.60. Now, that's because I know my cost and my returns and my values. Like, I know my numbers pretty well. If I was getting leads for like $3, I would absolutely take the time to like, why is this happening? We need to split test. We need to do other things. But I know, at least for this current campaign, like $1.68 is like our basement. Like, that's typically the lowest we're going to get. I think we're at $1.95 right now, just because it naturally goes up over time. And I'm like, yeah, this is fine. I'm not at $1.95. I'm still good to let it keep, let the rubber come off the tires. Like, we're just going to keep riding this train until it stops. If we get to about $2.25, $2.50, I'll bring in new copy and creative. I'll get diligent. I'll test, more frequently, but I'm just so simple. I'm like, why create something that's complicated? Like, you can hire the designer and you can do the brand photos. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. We've done it. We've played with it. For me, what always works the best is the stuff that took me 5 minutes in Canva. It's the stuff that I put all the time and effort into that always does the worst.
Yeah, similar. We have this ad that that we're trying to beat internally, where it's just like this crappy Canva thing that I did like last year, and we just still can't beat it. Even like just tweaking the visuals and make it look better still works. So yeah, when that comes off, you're like, damn, that was easy. Cool. Let's keep going, walking through this kind of system. So we have, like Facebook ads, we're testing angles, very, very simple, name, email, boom. Then I assume they automate into some kind of email software. From there, what does like the email sequence look like, in terms of frequency? You kind of mentioned that, this podcast and content, but tell us, what that process looks from name and email all the way to, here's my product closing today.
Yeah, we're testing a couple different things right now, but typically it's 5 to 10 emails that promote one product. Typically it's a product under $30 to $40. So we do our $25 Facebook ads for List Growth Bootcamp, and we just promote it. And then we promote it one email, and then one email is content. So basically our basic core structure is onboarding email, which is like, here's where to listen to the podcast, come follow me on Instagram, here's your freebie, like all that good stuff. And then a content email, typically a podcast or a blog that's done really well. Then a pitch email, then a content email, then a pitch email, content pitch. And we just alternate every day for 5 to 10 days. Ideal world, I go up to 14 days and I start spacing them closer together at the end. So like days 12, 13, 14, we have 2 emails each. But typically I'm like, keep it simple, because I'm trying to get them to buy the bootcamp, because the bootcamp ascends people to the membership. That's like a whole secondary like funnel and process and upsell process. But I just want them to get the bootcamp, because I know once they experience the bootcamp for $25, like I'm a huge believer of like, give something that's worth like 10, 20, 30 times what they paid. And we have people tell us all the time, wow, I've, taken Facebook ad courses for $300, $500, $1,000. And like, this is the first time I've run an ad that converts. Like, that's what we're going for. We're going for that wow factor so that people want to continue working with us. But I also know that in 90 days, I'm going to launch it again, right? So it's like, I want that sale. I'm going to be relatively persistent for 5 to 10 days, but then I'm going to go, okay, they clearly don't know enough. $25 is like not a big buy-in. So they need more nurture, connection, content. And once they get that, then I can convert them in a live launch. Or I might do like a one-off promotion of the membership. Like we're going to do a small Black Friday promotion. Like they might see that promotion, 3 months later than when they join the list and be interested. So there's just like all these different angles that I'm consistently working, but the core of it is I'm going to make an offer. And if I have a higher ticket offer over like, say $200 or $300, I just put them on a wait list for when it's like going to launch officially. I find that wait list over $100, $200 is like going to work more effectively to just like garner the top of your, like the top qualified leads to promote more aggressively to when you do a launch.
Interesting. If you're doing a launch with a course at a price point, $100 to $100, $200, $300, you would do the same strategy, but instead of getting a free lead magnet, it'd be, join the waitlist for this course. Is that right?
Still be a free lead magnet, but the follow-up sequence would promote the waitlist. Yeah.
Got it. And then, so it'd be waitlist, and then to the people on the waitlist, they will get offers going to the kind of like higher ticket next level product.
Yep.
Right. Cool. Love it. Nice, man. And okay, so you're doing these launches after I think it's kind of like 5 or 10 days email sequence. Mm-hmm. Once they're kind of like out of it, if someone hasn't purchased, are we just kind of emailing them regularly until about the next launch, or fitting
once or twice a week? Yeah. I'll email them once with a podcast, once with maybe just like a personal story just to build connection. But yeah, once or twice a week I'll send an email.
Cool. Okay, love it, man. And then in terms of like the actual products themselves, so like if we're giving away like a free bootcamp or a free challenge or a free PDF, are you putting anything in the product that upsells them to the next sequence?
Yeah. So our core loads, our $25 bootcamp talks about our $67 a month membership.
Yeah, and then they can purchase from there, and they can also send emails as well.
Exactly.
Perfect. Get the emails. Okay, nice. Cool, man. Well, this strategy is crazy, man. Like I want to try it out on a lot of products. You have it down to a science, man. And if you can get leads cheap, $1, $2, and use Facebook lead ads and then convert them on the end, everyone else is going to be spending so much more, opt-in, VSL, webinar, checkout. It gets expensive.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, yeah. And kind of, in terms of Facebook ads and setup, obviously you're optimizing for leads, but how do you scale? How do you set up your ad accounts, and then how do you scale them, or do you scale them? Do you just keep it around the $50-$80 a day mark?
Yeah, great question. So typically I scale up two ways. So I scale by going to multiple audiences. So typically we split test audiences, usually 10 to 20 audiences. Um, and then I spend $5 to $10 a day on all of those audiences. So like really what we have right now, I think is we have 7 active audiences at $10 a day. So I'm spending $70 a day. But I will also scale up if I'm doing well on a campaign. I'll scale it up at like 20 to 30% a day until I hit a ceiling of scale. Like that's natural. You're going to hit that where scaling it up just doesn't make the cost better. Actually makes it worse. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty simple. Like we just split test a bunch of audiences, and then I typically don't scale over $20 to $25 a day. If I'm getting to that point, like we just find that it's better to just find new audiences to scale into.
Are you testing different ad creatives, in different angles for each audience? So you're like 4 ads across,
Yeah, I do 4 ads across
or?
each audience. So 2 sets of copy, 2 sets of creative, manually cross created so that there's there's copy 1, image 1, copy 1, image 2, copy 2, image 1, copy 2, image 2. So there's 4 sets, right? So 2 sets copy, 2 sets creative, combine them, you get 4 total creatives. And we do that for each audience. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, man. Well, you summed it up perfectly. Like, that was amazing. In terms of, like online courses and scaling them now, is there anything else that you're doing, that you're working on? Any other strategies or things that you've learned kind of, in the last?
Yeah. One thing that we're doing is specifically in the coming year is like adding order bumps and upsells to our $25 bootcamp. Biggest thing is like, yes, I want cheap leads. Yes, I want people as cheap as possible, but we also want to promote the bootcamp directly via Facebook ads. And typically we pay $30 to $40 per purchase, which is really relatively cheap, honestly. But if it's only worth $25, we lose money on the front end, and then we kind of like have to really optimize the conversion. So one thing that we're playing with in 2024 is adding order bumps and upsells to the bootcamp to increase what we call average order value, which is basically like if 30% of people take you up on the upsell, then it actually is worth like $35 or $40 when somebody goes through the process, as opposed to 25. That's something that we're working on because I've been reading some really great books. And one thing that we're realizing is like the cost isn't going to go down, typically speaking, right? Like Facebook ads aren't going to get like cheaper in the next 4 or 5 years, right? It's always going to get more expensive as more people come to market, more people create. So the other thing to keep in mind is like, how can I spend more to get a customer? And for us, that comes down to order bumps, upsells, cross sells, and recurring revenue. And so we're always trying to optimize those things so that we can spend more than our competitors to get the leads and the conversions.
Yeah, crazy. And I'm curious to go in now, like with this kind of method and strategy that you've been launching, if you're allowed to say, what's one of the biggest launches or a few of the biggest launches where maybe, you spent more on ads, or the email campaign and the launch sequence just absolutely crushed? Can you tell us some of the biggest campaigns and the best stories?
Yeah. I mean, I think our best campaign was probably our most recent one in October of 2023. We did our 5-day bootcamp. We converted at 16%. If you see I don't know if you're recording video, I forgot to ask, but if you see my face flashing, I'm pulling up the stats. We ended up converting at 15.69% of people who joined the bootcamp bought the membership. So, I mean, 1 in 6, 1 in 8, 1 in 7, wow. 6, 7 ended up buying the membership. We ended up profiting about $15,000, which at the time our membership was $49 a month. So, that puts that in perspective. We added over 100 new people. We had a really great annual take rate. We had some cool upsells that we put on the monthly buyers. So yeah, I mean, that was probably one of our most successful campaigns. And what we did was I was actually out of the country mid-August to September. I traveled to Europe with my husband for three weeks, and I just had ads running. I was just like, we just got the list growing and the nurture automated. We can do whatever we want. And then when we came back, it was go time. We launched, and it went super well.
Amazing. That's so good. And those email sequences kind of went for 5 days, right? Or was it 10 days on this one?
That email sequence would have been 10 days.
Yeah, crazy, man. That's an incredible campaign. Well, we're going to move towards wrapping up, but this was incredible, man. I seriously appreciate you sharing everything. Like, there's so much gold here. I know people are listening, 100% going to check out your work, do the boot camps. It sounds amazing. One final thing I'm curious, kind of before we go into the moving parts, is like, for course creators running Facebook ads, are there any other strategies aside from, just like images and leads that you're seeing working right now? Any particular audiences or setups or angles or creative types? Because you're running a lot of ads. I'm curious if there's any kind of tricks or hacks you can give to us and our audience.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is something new. If you've spent more than maybe like $1,000, $2,000 in your Facebook ads account, it's called Advantage Plus targeting. And we just do what we call open Advantage Plus targeting. And basically what it is that you tell Facebook, like, I am not going to give you anything other than age, gender, location. And then you choose Cold Advantage Plus targeting. And what it does is Facebook basically uses the machine learning history from your account and content and context of the ad to basically say, these are the people we think will convert. If you'd have asked me a year ago, I'd have been like, Facebook's machine learning is crap. But it's gotten really, really good in the last 1 or 2 years. And so that's something that's worked really well for us. We used to call it cold open, but now they added this Advantage Plus layer to it that works really well. So we just do Advantage Plus. The other thing is, if you get more than, like, if you go on a low ticket model and you get more than 100 purchases in like a 60-day period, creating a lookalike of your purchase audience is just a stellar way to get really great results. So we're always testing lookalikes too.
Cool. Love it. Well, that's super valuable, man. I'm going to go test some Advantage Plus campaigns. I think we already might be using on some of the accounts. I'll need to double check, man. There's all these new things coming out. I forget all the names. Before we wrap up, I guess, if someone's out there looking to launch a course, or they have an online course, and they want to scale it, are there any kind of final words of advice or any things that you want to get off your chest to help them?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, like, grow your audience and your community first. It's an easy pitch to be like, oh, just do your webinar, sell your thing, get paid, right? But it's like, I always tell people, if it sounds so simple that you could just like go do it tomorrow, it's probably too simple. The other thing that people say is like, oh, I'm just going to run ads to my sales page. And I'm like, well, if you could just run ads to your sales page and just sell your course, why would people be doing lead magnets, sales funnels, all of these things, right? If it feels too like guaranteed money is money, like just go do it, it's probably a little too simple for 2023. Not impossible, but simple. And it's going to require some modifications, in my opinion. And the other thing is, I think about it as like purely a business transaction. I'm spending $300 a month baseline on Facebook ads. If I'm getting started with a client, I want them spending at least $300 a month because it's an investment in their business and it's an investment in their marketing. And so I get that it's easy, especially with the internet, to be like, oh, well, you should just make money. Like, don't spend any money until you make some money. And it's like, traditionally in business and life, it helps to use or leverage assets to gain or use new assets. And so money is just an asset. And, I get it. Everybody's at different stages and places. But if you're like, I'm going all in, I want to grow this. This is a business. You got to treat it like a business. You got to put time and money in. And I'm just a huge believer of that. So it's like, if you're looking at this going like, well, I'll advertise when, I'd be like, set aside $150, $300 a month, $5, $10 a day, and advertise your business. It's never going to hurt you to have new eyes on your content, build a community, because when you build a community, you can also talk to them. You can ask them what they want, and you can give them content, and you can serve them. And people that you serve, support, and nurture are going to be 10 times more likely to buy than somebody who signs up for a 1-hour webinar on a Monday and you tell them they have to buy by Friday.
Love it. Cool. Well, appreciate that, man. That was awesome. We're going to move towards wrapping up. So I guess if someone wants to, reach out, learn more about Facebook ads, course creation from you, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me over on Instagram at Zach Spuckler. I used to be at Heart Soul Hustle, but Instagram shut me down at like 9,500 followers. Super fun. So at Zach Spuckler, this is the new handle. Don't go looking for Heart Soul Hustle. And then if you want to learn more, you can go to heartsoulhustle.com/ads15, ADS15. And that's just a little PDF that we put together about our holistic advertising strategy. Like, we're always growing our audience, but we also set up a couple other small campaigns that let us spend about baseline $15 a day. If you're like, I'm there, I'm in, I want to run ads to grow my list, sell my products, and engage people to my podcast, my blog, my content. This is our $15 a day strategy to do that. And this is the strategy that we are deploying 24/7 before we launch. And then we turn them off, we launch, and we repeat. So if you want to learn that strategy, it's heartsoulhustle.com/ads15, and you can check it out.
Love it. Well, you have the links, guys. Go check out all of Zach's stuff. He's got amazing products. I'm going to get it myself. Check out this ad campaign and start implementing stuff. I really appreciate you coming on, man, and dropping so much wisdom, dropping so much gold. This was awesome. Lots of tactics. We should do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Cool, man. All good, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. All right. And that's a pod.